Welcome to the Gordon Gecko Podcast. I'm George, and starting today, this is Joe because he doesn't want to be named after a failed
Electronic device.
Japanese, Sony
Yeah,
Japanese.
most perhaps.
Yeah,
Right.
so Sony Vaio. Yeah, it's no more. From today, Joe and George.
Yeah, after the
Um,
banking application.
yeah,
Copyright erste Bank.
yeah. So, Gordon Gecko.
Right. So,
Right.
thanks for having me. I always like being at your home. Um, I'm actually only the second time at George's home, and we've been friends for it's about 5 years now.
5 years, yeah.
But somehow, I mean, I've been thinking about it when I was sitting in the car towards his apartment. How come that we haven't visited each other more often? And might be something about this culture and about this city and about this country. People aren't really visiting each other much at home, but we're going out and meeting in, I don't know, pubs and cafes and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
this city has a great coffee house culture, and I'm quite aware that this is tragically ironic in
Yeah.
times of COVID and stuff like that. But I have to maybe sum up this topic for you and for all of us. I have made a resolution to not. There is the name that will not be spoken, and it is. It starts with C and ends with Orona, right? So I don't. I'm not one of the people who are denying it. I'm not saying it's not happening. It's not real. So far be it. But I just think for our both sanity and most of all for mine, I just decide to think as less as possible about it.
Yeah.
So I think you found a great topic which we could cover today, and which could
Exactly.
also be entertaining as well as beneficial, hopefully, to some of the guys and girls out there watching us, and that would be how to survive startup life.
Yes.
And I'd like you to start telling us why you think that you're remotely qualified to talk about startup life. Do you have any experience? Have you worked in startups, and what have you been doing if so?
Yes. Well, to start, I got hired by you, so yes.
Yeah, you didn't have to
Um,
tell the people. Right.
yeah. Anyways, I've started working in we're learning rather the field of graphic and web design in 2009. And already in 2010, I was slowly freelancing, like small projects, low budget, but I was already in it. I was hooked, and I
When you
loved
were
it.
like 14 years old, right?
2009, yes, I was 14.
Incredible.
Yeah, thank you. Um, I slowly developed, started making websites, shitty websites on WordPress. I gotta admit that, but websites nonetheless. I was making some money, and as a high school kid, living in Bosnia and having American clients, that was quite lucrative and beneficial for me. But then I decided to move to Vienna. In 2014, I moved to Vienna. Um, I lost all my clients because I had to visit one town, then the another, then the other. I had to go to this institution, to that institution to get all the paperwork needed to actually move here. Um, then when I actually came here, I figured, hey, I should work. I need some money, obviously. Um, and I started working as a merchandiser. Then I worked as a bartender, bar chef. I worked as a assistant project manager. Um, that was a bad experience, very bad experience.
All of these jobs, right?
Well, no, when you're working in a bar, it's actually quite entertaining sometimes,
Okay, I get it.
Yeah, I had my fun there.
Mm-hmm.
But eventually, I came across an ad for data entry like student worker and a front end developer. And I was neither at that point. But I I contacted the guy, our old work colleague, and I got an interview.
Hmm.
Um, so we talked. We talked. You and I talked the most for 2 freaking hours. This a
Well,
hole here was drilling me with questions.
a ridiculous job interview. I was
Yeah.
determined to find something, some reason to not like this guy.
Yeah.
I didn't come up with a reason.
Thank you very much.
I would have liked so. I would
Yeah.
fire him now just for the sake of firing him, right?
Anyways, I got the job. I started working as a UIX designer with Joe and our colleague. It was CTO, head of IT,
Yeah.
backend, yeah, that type of thing. And yeah, not long after that, you left the company.
Hmm.
You
You can put it like that, yes.
Yeah, but I continued working. So since our funding was quite tight, we had to um, we had to do many things. We had to have multidisciplinary skills: design, marketing,
Yeah.
development,
That was the
backend,
beauty of
front
it,
end.
working in
Yeah,
a startup, right?
and slowly but surely, those hours kept increasing and increasing, and obligations kept piling up. So, from a simple graphic designer, I moved to web designer like previously, then UI UX. But I mean, this is all like across few years, of course, not
Mhm.
few months. I learned. So I wasn't always a senior. I'm not a senior now, but I think I'm good at my job anyways. Then I started actually doing some front-end development, not just like web design, actual proper coding like React, then React Native. Actually, no, it was first React Native and then React, which is quite funny because that's not usually the path people take. Um, then we got some funding. We got more people in, but the obligations stay there nonetheless. Then we had some, yeah, changes. Some people came, some people left. In the end, before my burnout, I was like interim lead of the like product department, kind of, plus the other stuff as well. So designing, developing a bunch of meetings, running Scrum. We'll talk about what Scrum and
You went
yeah.
into a fucking suicide mission, didn't
Yeah,
you?
pretty much. But I still love it. I still love that period of my life. And I'm grateful to my bosses and that company for allowing me that because that in that time at least that company was sort of like I don't want to say playground because that doesn't sound serious, but it allowed me to learn and practice many different skills. I did have good mentors throughout. Well, not always, but most of the time I did have good mentors. I had good people in my department who I could rely on, so that was wonderful. Those like work relationships grew into friendships, which was also wonderful and still is. Um, and then December 2019, I burned out completely. My health deteriorated. I felt horrible. Like past 4 p.m., I couldn't lift anything heavier than a spoon. I had no energy. I wasn't sleeping. All I could think about was the company and leaving it, leaving myself, like just to go to forest, play with my dog. Like those were my only thoughts,
Hmm.
only positive thoughts. The rest were all negative because when you experience such an overflow of information and obligations and meetings and code review and design and like you're responsible for all of that in the end you just like click, you burn out. And that's not good for anybody. That's not good for you. That's not good for your superiors. That's not good for your company. It's not good for your clients, for your product, for whatever. It's not good. Um, Now I'm back at that company and I'm quite happy. We have a big team now. We have certain processes like set in stone, and it works. It works nicely. Like we have separate QA, separate product managers, separate backend, separate front end. It's working, you know. It's nice.
Yeah, it
And
sounds like there are more people to take on the responsibility,
exactly,
right?
exactly. Like at that time, there were only three people, so me and two colleagues, and we were doing everything from
Three
requirements
people in development and product management, you mean, right? There were
product
other people in the
management,
company.
design. Yeah, just our
Okay.
department. But our department was doing um, designing, developing, managing QA, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
everything except finances, operations, and marketing. So everything else was on us, on three people. And it was hard. I'm not gonna lie to you, it was hard, but I still loved every second of that because I don't know. I guess I'm weird like that, but if you enjoy working in a startup, if you like the whole startup life, you will willingly go into a burnout. Like I knew that would happen. At some point, I like subliminally I understood that would happen, but I didn't wanna like stop. I
Do you
loved it
think it
too
had
much.
to happen? Do you think it's inevitable? Like it's some sort of, if
If you
you
love
go into
startups,
startups,
yeah.
then you will burn out eventually?
If you love startups as much as I do, yes. And I know a few more colleagues
Is
that
it generally startups or a particular startup? Were you
no,
no no? What I want to ask is, were you emotionally tied to the particular startup you were working in, or was it like you are emotionally invested in the job, but not so much? It could have been any other startup. Let's
I
put it
would
like
say
that.
both. I
Mm.
would say both. I was emotionally tied to this company. I still am. I love the people there. Like, I don't know. You know, there's that bullshit line like, "Oh, we're all like a family here." Yeah, my ass. But with most people I work with, yeah, I kind of am like family. I really love those people and I love working with them. But it didn't have to be that company. I would have burned out in any startup. It's just if you love startups that much,
Mhm.
if you love that thrill of finishing the night before the deadline, and then like during the presentation the next day, everybody's happy, like the stakeholders, the clients, whoever, they're happy. They're like, great work, amazing. Like, look how much you've achieved. And then you think about all those like sleepless nights working, the amount of coffee. Like the three of us were consuming a kilo of coffee on a weekly basis.
Well,
Like,
that's rough.
yeah, like weekly basis, meaning 5 work days in the office.
Wow.
Then there's like there's the
Weekends,
weekend.
obviously,
Yeah,
right?
there's the weekend. So it was inevitable, definitely. It didn't have to happen in this company. Could have been XYZ, LLC, whatever, but it would
Mhm.
have happened, at least in my case, I think. But now that I've learned, I try to not educate. I don't want to sound like an asshole, but I try to spread the word about it to people, um, just joining this world. And I know they're gonna tell me like, yeah, thanks for the advice, and then they're gonna do the same thing
Yeah.
that I did because it happened to you as well.
Yes.
And you are what, 7, 8 years older than me?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. I
So
will tell you
yeah.
about this, but I do have one question previously. So I read I read something on LinkedIn the other day, and I I just can't quote the guy because I really don't remember
Mhm.
his name. I think it's Klaus something. So sorry, Klaus, for stealing your good work. But he wrote something along the lines of, there are people who know that giving other people the feeling of a family and of close bonding and of friendship will make the participating people work harder for each other. So they are kind of trying on purpose to establish a culture where people will go to extreme lengths for each other because they know that this will be beneficial to the purpose, to the company. So they are fostering this picture, and they are using this trope about we are a family. And I think HR departments have recognized this mechanism, right? So that's why this is so much used. We are a family, we are friends, we are close to each other. I mean, if you think about it from another point of view, I mean, most of us have friends and family. And if you start a day early, you go to work, you work there all day, you get home in the evening. So in many companies, it's like we do company events together. We are trying to spend time with each other. We're trying to have activities. We're trying to, I don't know, in the evening go have dinners or I don't know, go rafting on the weekends and stuff like that. So if you think, okay, I'm spending the whole day there, basically when I'm not sleeping, I'm spending the whole day at the company, then I'm trying, or I'm asked implicitly to spend even more time taking away from friends and family. So I think this is kind of has a good side. The good side is people who don't really have close bonds to, I don't know, friends or family, or who are maybe new in a city, who are maybe new in a country like you were, that's awesome for them because they get to have something like instantly or an almost instantly created circle of friends and acquaintances at least. On the other hand, I think it's incredibly tricky and treacherous because exactly what happened to you. You know, if you as a young person or even as an older person, never mind, if you never made the experience that you have to look out for yourself in the work life, and you inevitably in startup life come to the point where more is asked of you than you can perform and than you can deliver consistently on a day-to-day basis. And if you never learned to step back, then I think you're right. It's inevitable that you will burn out.
Yeah.
So,
multiple answers. I'll start with the last one first. I wasn't asked to do any of these things explicitly.
not explicitly, right?
But there's also a point of self-pride when you learn that the company doesn't have enough money to hire somebody for one specific thing, and then you take up that task and you learn a new, I don't know, new programming language or a new skill, and you succeed in that. Oh boy, fuck heroin and any other drug. Like, this is the drug you need. Like,
That's beautiful, right?
Yeah, the sense of self-accomplishment.
Right.
Or the sense of accomplishment doesn't have to be self-accomplishment. It can be like team accomplishment.
And
Yeah,
you
it
will not
feels-
get that at a classic job.
Yeah,
At
you
most
will
corporates, you will not get
Ooh,
that.
buddy, that's a drug. That's a real fucking drug. And that's why people like you and me and a bunch of our colleagues go through this. Because it's a drug for us in a way. I never actually thought about it in that way, but now that I think about it, yeah, if you're willing to, I don't know, delay meeting your friends in the sake of staying home and learning whatever, React, Python, yeah,
right? Whatever.
to be able to expand your workload even more, then yeah, it's a drug.
Shit, you got me cold, and it's on camera.
Yeah.
Fuck, I never. Wow, it didn't occur to me to look at it that way. But yes, that's
Not a drug, but an addiction in a way.
No, it
like
is.
that
It
you're
is. It's like
Constantly searching for more.
it is
and
like a
more and
drug.
more
You
and
have to
more.
stimulate yourself
Yeah.
because when you have certain type of mind,
That doesn't stop working.
that doesn't stop working. You
Yeah.
get bored easily.
Yeah.
You know, for me, my first job, which I had after high school, so I was like 19 or 18 or 19 at that time. I just got my graduation letter, and everything was signed and sealed. It was summer, and I had a great summer. It was beautiful. Made my driving license, drove around, had lots of fun. And then I thought to myself, okay, now it would be a great time to start working. I didn't really think about going to college. Didn't occur to me at that time, because I was thinking, oh, now I've spent, I don't know, 12, 13 years in school. Now it's enough of learning. I'm smart enough or whatever, and I should try to make some money.
Right.
I'm from a working class family, so my parents are workers. I'm quite fortunate to say we have never been really poor, but we have also never been in the situation that any of us could really afford to not work for a prolonged period of time. So
Same
it's
pretty
like
much
you
with me.
you have, when you're not born rich, I guess. Then most of us have these kind of stories where you think, okay, am I going to do an extra educational step that's gonna take me 2, 3, 5 years, or am I going to make some amount of money? It was a trade-off, and for me it was like, okay, let's see what it's like to work really for a prolonged time. I didn't really, like you did with 13 or 14. I think when I was 14, I was still playing with Power Rangers or stuff like that. No, I was always a bookworm. I loved books. I wasn't selective. I never thought about what am I gonna read next. It was always, I had a staple of 10 to 20 books, and I had always a backlog. I still have, of books which I'd like to read.
Interesting.
I will never get to read all of them, because when I'm arrived at number 20, I will have bought already, I don't know, another 15. So it's kind of hopeless, but I also like it. But I was never the great worker. I wasn't really. Yeah, I went to work here and there, made a couple of bucks just to like have an alibi, basically. But until I was 18, it never quite occurred to me to go work on a regular basis, because there would be enough time for that when I'm old, right? And
Yeah.
here we are. And I started working at this company as an accountant, and it was a local company. It were nice people. Actually, they were lawyers, and they just needed someone to look after their accounting, because if you are a couple of lawyers, then what doesn't really what you don't care about is finances and accounting. So they just wanted someone to file their invoices, to effect some payments, to go to the
Right.
bank and do some basic
And that was
accounting
in
stuff.
Vienna.
That was in Vienna, and I was bored out of my fucking mind.
No
Wonder. Because I mean, it's accounting, and I don't want to knock any accountants out there. It's honest work, but you have to like it. If you don't feel it, if you're not born, I would say, or if you're not inclined to be an accountant, you will not like it.
Well, buddy, what have you been talking about for past 15 minutes about loving startups?
Right.
Same thing with accounting. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't really like numbers that much. I was terrible at math my whole life, barely passing every time. But yeah, if you love it, you love it.
I love numbers.
And
that's
yeah,
something
but you
I
hate
really.
accounting.
I hate. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's maybe not
And you educated
self-explanatory.
yourself for that field. That's the ironic part.
Yeah, I
It's the
do.
irony.
I went. I finished the economic. I have a bachelor in economics, and part of that is also having a couple of courses. I have to say it's not much, because you have something like, I would say, 30 courses in some, and 3 of them are accounting. So it's not like
Yeah.
a major part, but it's also not like
I
nothing.
had 3 different accountings as well. I think like just normal accounting, then cost accounting, then like balancing budgets and that type of thing. I don't know.
Gosh, I
But
hated every single
yeah.
hour of it. What I have a great interest in is, or are companies, most of all newer companies, and what means new, internet economy is really interesting to me. I love everything which is digital which scales, which where you have, I don't know, like digital products, right? Because that's why I ended up in product management. I didn't really know what product management is, but I went there because it was companies, it was internet, it was cool, it was interesting, so I wanted to go there. But when I was in accounting, it was every day was hard, and I'm a bit ashamed that it doesn't really speak to my longevity or toughness, but I made it for barely 3 months as an accountant.
Oh wow.
And I made myself, because I started working in October, and I made myself a Christmas present and quit the day before Christmas, actually, or the last work day before Christmas.
Wow.
I really did hate it that much, and it was. They were kind of surprised because I actually didn't do such a shitty job, but that's the reason for that is not that I'm a brilliant accountant, but that anybody with a couple of brain cells could have done that job, because it's not
It's not
the
real
complicated.
accounting,
It's
like
not real
yeah, it's
accounting,
just
right? It was just file some invoices and
yeah.
make some payments and carry something to the bank and come back without being robbed or something like that.
Yeah.
So it wasn't highly qualified. So, but I think my point there was, if I didn't have a great start to work life. I thought, oh wow, going to school maybe doesn't suck as much as working, because if work is like this, and if I have to do this for another 40 plus years, oh boy,
Yeah.
oh shit, no wonder so many old people are so unhappy. I would be unhappy as well. I was unhappy after a couple of
A couple
days.
Of, yeah. Yeah. Let's say months, but yeah, even days.
And then, yeah.
No, I understand you. I understand you completely. But as Joe Biden's press secretary would say, let's circle back to the main topic, which would be surviving startup life. Since we've both survived, like Vaya had a burnout, a crash. I'd rather say like you were in a worse shape than me. I had a bad health at that point, but I just took some pills that like helped my immune system, and from now on I have to like take vitamin D like every winter. And afterwards I went home for a month, and yeah, I went hiking, play with my dog, and visit a bunch of family, and that was it. I was always better afterwards. With you, yeah, you actually like fainted, and
No,
well,
with
you
me
crashed.
it was a bit more serious, but
Yeah, I would
um,
like to hear that story, but then I'd actually like to talk about avoiding those things and actually helping somebody who decides to listen to this podcast, if they love startups, if they want to get into this life, how to uh, become a master of all trades. I don't want to like toot my own horn, but yeah, I can handle a bunch of different like applications from diverse fields, um, and you as well, of course. And we're not like some, I don't know, geniuses, Elon Musk's or whatever. No, it's just if you ever worked in a startup, you know what we're talking about. Like you will recognize these things instantly. It's just bare necessity. That's all. But please, tell me about your crash, and then let's talk
I would
about
like
surviving
to,
it.
because you did this circling back thing really elegantly. I don't wanna undo it, but I just wanna give you one good reason why I brought the story up about my start in the work life as an
Mm-hmm.
accountant. Um, I then decided to go to university, and during my studies, together with a colleague, we started a startup. It was instantly successful. We just basically did something like, it looked like MySpace, but it was not for socializing, but for exchanging documents
Yeah,
about the
you
studies
mentioned that
and
in
sharing
the
and things
last
like that.
episode.
So I really loved that. And for me, at that point, it was signed and sealed. It was like, okay, either you will work a boring job which will kill you, not only psychologically, also physically, because
Yeah.
if you deteriorate from a mind perspective, also your body will not be healthy. I'm quite convinced of that. So I was like, yes, startups, I'm gonna do that. That gives me the kicks. And that's exactly the root cause for what would happen, I guess, some 7 or 8 years later. I was instantly hooked on startups. I loved it. I had some initial success, and I thought like, okay, I will do startups. I will not go into a corporate. I will not become a boring bot who will hate his life. I will just, yeah, coming to that. And I will do startups. I love this. And whatever someone throws at me, I will handle it. Because that's basically the mindset you need if you're gonna, or if you want to go into startups, and if you want to survive in a startup.
Right.
If you try to go into the startup ecosystem, let's call it like that, and you say, I want a fixed set of responsibilities, I want a regulated daily structure, you will fail. And you
Exactly.
will feel miserable. You will also be inadequate for your employer, because they are getting, or most of the startups, most of the people who are founding startups are looking for people who are flexible. And flexible is just not one of these fancy words. It's a necessity in a startup. You need people to handle situations which haven't been handled before, because
Yes.
that's a necessity in a startup. If a startup is anything remotely innovative, and then you have this in the word innovation, it's something new. It's not routine. You cannot have
It's not
a
repetitive.
set of regulatory, like, today I will do this and that in that order. And that's just not gonna be like that. So you have to like that, and if you like it, you will be like a fish in the water. And what doesn't a fish want? Like, I mean, that might sound like stupid now, but a fish doesn't want to be taken out of the water. You want to swim, you like it, you enjoy it, and you don't really care if you swim with sharks or with other fish or with boats or whatever. You just enjoy it because it's nice. You love it. It's lovely. But you don't, and as a fish, I guess, you don't recognize the point when you get into trouble. I didn't see that coming. I was working for a fintech, and it had everything I liked. Just just imagine. I mean, I studied economics. You're working in something which is based on economics, finance. Okay,
Yes.
but it's not finance like a bank, which would, or accounting, which would kind of be
Annoying.
boring,
Yeah.
or annoying. It's also tech. You have a business model, you have to scale it, you have these technical challenges, you have to establish a platform, you have to think about APIs, you have to think about backends, about front ends. Then this whole world, I guess, of Scrum and agile development, it was new to me, it was mind-blowing. um, there was so much to learn, and I didn't know when my day started and when it ended, because there was no such structure. I woke up, you're in the
24/7.
loop. You're at home, you're still in the loop. You go to sleep. Sometimes I even dreamt about work. It's and I didn't feel burdened by it. And that's the tricky part.
It
I
is.
didn't feel it as a burden until it broke. It completely broke me. There was a point when I was working for the startup we were talking about, where we worked together. I don't know if you were aware of that, but it was the reason for leaving. And there were many reasons, because I couldn't get behind the way the company was being managed, or behind the direction. That's not to knock the management or to put them down or anything like that. It was just not where I,
Not for you.
or it was not just what I thought I could support. And if you work in a startup and you don't believe in the mission, or you don't believe in the direction the company is taking, it's quite hard to stay motivated, because you work really long hours. You have to really apply yourself, and you do have to love it. But if you don't believe in it, can you really love it? I think not. So that for me was one of the reasons for leaving, but also it was one of the last stops I thought I could pull in order to, I don't want to sound overly dramatic, but I think it was in order to not die at that point with 28 or 29 years, because I was starting to feel pain in my chest. It's not like fainting like in movies, you fall down, but it's like you're sitting there and then a couple of minutes later you just don't know what's been happening the past couple of minutes, things like that, where
vision,
you get up too fast and you're feeling like dizzy and things like that, where I also didn't really look after myself enough. I didn't do enough sports. I didn't do enough. I just didn't do enough for myself, I guess.
Now that you mentioned sports, I would say that's the first rule for surviving a startup.
Yeah.
You have to exercise. It's quintessential to exercise. You have to. 15 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever you like. You like doing pull-ups, jumping jacks, you like running, riding a bike, swimming, whatever. But you need to get some of that energy out in a physical way.
And get some energy in.
Yeah. And so the first rule, I would say, of surviving startups is learn to exercise any way you like. Second rule, learn to go offline. What I mean by that, everybody expects that you're online 24/7. By online, I mean like you're accessible, and if somebody calls you at, I don't know, 10 p.m., that you just open up your laptop and like, you start typing away and you're working again because it's necessary. Yeah, it is necessary, but your name is not on the fucking, on the door. You're an employee there, even though you love it and you believe in the vision, in the mission, in whatever. You believe that you're going to be successful. You will not be successful if you drop dead in 3 months because you've overworked yourself. So learn to go offline. Past 7, in some cases, 8 p.m., just don't answer messages. Try to stop thinking about the company. And I know it sounds a bit hypocritical because at that time my brain would just continue thinking about that, potential solutions, new features, fixing solutions for bugs. It just works that way. You cannot stop it. Like, you don't have control over your brain, and that's really weird because I haven't experienced it up until that point. I mean, sometimes, yeah, but not in that, not with that intensity, not at all.
I have to challenge the second point before enforcing the first one. Yes, you're an employee. That's true, but I think that's not the right mindset if you go into joining a startup, because if you join a startup and you're one of the first, let's say 5 or 10 employees, basically either this is gonna be a company which will have hundreds and maybe someday thousands of workers, and you will be one of the OGs there.
Yeah.
Which only by itself would be cool, but some people, and let's say if you're in a startup, you join early enough, and if you're skilled and if you're valuable as an employee, or maybe even as a leader at some point in that startup, you would be offered something like enhanced compensation, like equity. For instance, equity or options or stuff like that. Yeah. So at that point you cease being an employee, but you're an entrepreneur, but not in a sense of working in a corporate and pretending that you're doing startups, but you are as much, or maybe by less percent, but you are as much a part of the company as the founders are. Yeah. And then you cannot have the same mindset like, I will shut down my phone at 5 p.m. I will not bother about stuff at 8 p.m. or at 7 a.m. because that's not what I'm gonna do. And that's exactly the tricky part, At some point, I was at one startup. I was fortunate enough to being offered stock options, which at one certain moment in time, it was something like 6 years ago, would be valued at around €500,000. And all I had to do, quote unquote, was to stay at the company for 5 years.
Yeah.
And do my job, right? And to do it well, right?
So like phantom stocks?
Yeah, something like that, yes. And at that point, €500,000 is an enormous sum of money.
Yeah,
and
even today.
it was
Even
it is
today.
even today, and it was back then,
Yeah.
And then you completely lose this kind of employee mindset. You're not gonna make €500,000 as an employee. Okay, maybe you're gonna make it in a lifetime, but you're not gonna make it as a one-time payment. You're not gonna have it as a young person. You're not gonna appear in a 30 under 30 list or something like that. If that's important to you. But for me, it was more about economic freedom. For me, money is freedom, and not being bothered if I'm gonna buy milk for €1.29 or for €1.59, like things like that, or if I'm gonna being able to pay my rent or some other invoices. So to not go into discussion about money, but so yeah, I wouldn't agree with the point about you're an employee, you have to protect yourself. If you go or if you jump into the shark pool, you better be a shark, or otherwise you shouldn't be jumping in.
Yes and no.
But
Okay,
there the
maybe
first point comes
maybe I misspoke. I didn't express myself properly. Regardless, whether you're the founder, the co-founder, the initial 5, initial 10, whatever, you have to take care of your mind and your body. Fuck it, even if you're CEO, learn to turn off that phone. Yeah, okay, if it's a real emergency, okay, somebody's gonna call you, come running, knock on your door, whatever. But a Slack notification like, hey, can you prepare this for tomorrow because we need it and I only remember to tell you now at 10 p.m. No, fuck you. Why didn't you tell me about it earlier? Why didn't you put it in the sprint? What, like, yeah, uh, if it makes sense, if it's really important, yeah, sure, no problem. But if it's something that can wait for, I don't know, 2, 3, 5 days, whatever, yeah, you don't have to answer that message. You don't have to, because as soon as you take that phone and continue that conversation,
Yeah,
or
you're
like
not
answer,
relaxed anymore.
you're not relaxed anymore.
Yeah,
You're in that
that's
mindset
true.
again. That's what I mean by that.
And I absolutely get your point, and I also to support it, and I will get to the point. We will get to the point in the conversation where I talk about my the stage of my career right now, because that's quite a contrast to back
Exactly.
then. But it's like, imagine if you commit to a startup. Never mind if you're a founder or an employee, but let's say you're an early stage employee or even one of the co-founders. Never mind. It's like having a kid.
Yeah, it is.
And I am fortunate enough to have a little baby boy at home, and he doesn't know to set priorities. He doesn't know what's important and what's not important. He wants to be taken care of. If he wants to be entertained, he wants to be entertained now, even if it's silly. If he's hungry, he wants to eat. If he doesn't want to be bothered, he doesn't want to be bothered.
Keyword
So,
now.
Hmm?
Keyword now.
Yeah, but keyword now. And he doesn't, or any kid, any baby, doesn't care about the daytime. It's just a fact. And some parents are fortunate enough to have kids who sleep the whole night. Most of them aren't,
Yeah.
and you cannot just say to the kid if it cries to you at 9:30 or 10:30 or whatever, wait until tomorrow morning. Try that. I'd challenge you,
Yeah, but that's
because
an unfair
actually,
comparison.
I,
Come on.
I don't think it's unfair, because actually a startup or a really young company is a fairly brittle thing, it's easy to break. And if you don't meet some commitments, and it can be maybe some delivery date for a big partner, or some, I don't know, a sending of some documents which have to be signed, and then things don't happen that should happen, it can lead to a liquidity crunch, and it can lead to the dissolvement of the company.
Of
You
course.
don't know the knock-on effects of little decisions. And that's the tricky part, because as a father, or let's say as an owner of a startup, right? You don't know, or you cannot always know if it's important or not. You have to pick up the phone to know if it's important or not. And there you made the point. As soon as you pick up the phone to look if it's important or not, you are already out of your relaxation zone. You
Yeah.
are in there, and you might as well do it, right?
Yeah.
And that's the shitty part about startups. It's also, I have to be honest, the shitty part about being being a parent. It's
Yeah.
there are 9,000 lovely parts about being a parent, but the one crappy part is, it's necessary to be snap on there at
Yeah.
any
Alert.
time of day. If it's 4 a.m., if it's 1:30 a.m. and you've been sleeping for 17 minutes, never mind. It's I think I wouldn't do them justice, but for some time I like to read books about people who are in special forces, for instance.
Right.
As Jocko Willink would be an example.
Amazing example.
And the enemy doesn't care. If you've been sleeping for 12 minutes and not having showered for 3
Yeah.
days or stuff like that.
The enemy
So-
doesn't sleep.
Enemy doesn't sleep. Great one. So if you go there and you cannot handle that, then don't go there.
Yeah, I'm aware, and I agree to an extent.
But they keep
still,
fit, the special forces people, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exercise.
Exercise.
Still, there are always ways to work on these things. So you don't have to pick up the phone every time. You can also, especially in a small startup, when there aren't that many people working, you can have, I don't know, one person for marketing, one for operations, one for finances, and I don't know, let's say two in IT. You can have a meeting, like a weekly meeting, and just tell them, don't text me after 6 p.m. unless it's important. Or, I don't know, let's say 7 p.m. That would be fair. I think that's okay. That's fair.
That's fair, but you will have inevitably the people who don't have an adequate assessment of importance.
Then you
Like-
sit down with them after the first, second, third time. You sit down with them and see, like, okay, let's rate these on a scale of 1 to 5. How important is this?
Right. Yeah, that
Yeah.
would work.
Learn through like a retrospective, or
What I did at the point, and it was hip to be square at that time. I wrote a little bot who who replied automatically to messages I got. You could hook that into. It was some
Like Slack.
Hmm?
Was it for
Right.
Slack?
Right, it was Slack, and it was quite easy to do, and he was quite a simple bot, but I like simple and beautiful solutions. And if someone texted me and I didn't text back in the matter of, I think it was half an hour or something like that, he would send a text back, hi, my boss or Joe or whatever I texted it, never mind. He's working on something else, and he will get back to you as soon as possible. Please don't write again. And that's actually stopped many people from writing or calling again. And if they did, most of the times it was something important.
Okay, but did it actually make you forget to answer as well sometimes?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, because then that message is no longer unread. Like you don't see that little notification there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a double-sided sword.
It is, but it kind of worked. It can be
still
refined, I
think-
think, with an
I
intelligent
still
bot.
think no matter what, if something is really important, they can call you and tell you, "I'm sorry to disturb you, but this is important." If you get a message in Slack, "Hey, can you, I don't know, make a presentation for this and that?" No. I mean, yeah, I can, but tomorrow.
Hmm.
I need to be rested to be able to do the first fucking 20 tasks of the day and then your dumb little presentation. I sometimes I get pissed off when I talk about this, but yeah, I had a lot of
That
dumb
reminds me
little
of
tasks like that.
it reminds me of something my grandfather always says, and he's approaching his 90th birthday next year.
Impressive.
It's impressive, right? And he never used, or we got him his first cell phone 2 years ago or something, and he didn't want to have one. My father tried to force various cell phones for, I don't know, old people or young people,
Old
whatever.
phone.
And he just didn't want, like, his saying was, if it's really important, they'll come and find me. And by come and find me, he was really meaning physically
come and
walk
find
there and find him at his home or wherever he
Yeah.
was at that point, because as little as we can imagine it, there was a time when people didn't have cell phones
Or phones.
or
In
phones,
general.
right? And they still were able to manage to put together some transactions and some businesses, right? So it was possible. However, it wasn't possible to have these massive, scalable, big and fast-growing businesses like this, because you had exactly these limitations. Communication and transaction of information was really analog. So
Yeah.
that's again, this double-edged sword. So but we kind of perverted this whole principle of come and find me.
Now.
It wasn't like,
instant.
I am here, I want to be found, write me instantly, because for me it turned in, at some point it flipped, and I was like, when no one was writing me for a couple of hours, I got anxious. Like,
Yeah, because
am I not important anymore?
with every-
Don't I contribute? What's happening?
with every notification you get a little bit of dopamine, serotonin,
That's
and
tricky,
like,
right?
Yes.
And
Same shit with those likes and comments, and that's how they work. Like everything's gamified.
Right.
Important concept in UI and UX UX. Gamification, and we can talk about that in some.
I would like to
other
give a
episode.
shout out here. It might be controversial, but I think Robinhood is doing some great shit there. I'm not agreeing with their policies of cutting off trading for some
Yeah,
stocks and things
absolutely
like that. So I think
despicable,
that's absolutely despicable. But they have really nailed the principle of gamification. It's not new, but it's like they really nailed it and transferred it to a concept that's huge, and that's investing. I mean, you gamify money.
What's your goal? How do you want to accomplish it?
But it's awesome, and that nobody
Yeah.
did it before is mind blowing to me. But basically, that you can say that of most companies that are big at this point, right? Why didn't anybody do it before? And why did it have to? Okay, it will not end for them like this, but I think they will be tarnished as a company by the events that happened or that went down with GameStop.
Could be. Could be. I hope they burn in hell for the things they've done, but yeah, it's probably not gonna happen.
Actually, do we wanna dedicate a minute to that topic? Because
To Robin Hood?
yeah,
Yeah, fuck him. Let's go. Next topic.
there was one thing I read which kind of really took down this whole narrative of Robin Hood are the bad guys and the traders are the good guys, the banks are the bad guys, and I think in this story there were really no good guys at all.
Yeah.
There were a couple of clueless people who were doing stuff, but
Yeah.
most of the reason why trading wasn't actually available for some time was Robinhood not being able to post enough securities to be able to cover events of margin calls, for instance. If someone like if you're making the market for stocks, you have to have a certain liquidity because at some point you have to make sure the transaction happens. So you have to have some capital in the background to cover it. What happened then at that point was a really huge influx of capital to Robinhood. So thousands and 10,000s of people were downloading the application, sending money, trying to buy stocks. They didn't manage to put up the capital as securities fast enough. So
Right.
you can say it was technicals. You can also say they weren't really prepared to scale. It's the question how you wanna phrase it, you know. But I don't really buy into this. It was malicious intent from the beginning story. I think it was something like incompetence paired with a bit of maliciousness. but it wasn't. I wouldn't say it
And
was a
some
bad game plan from the
what's the
beginning.
nice word for blackmail?
There isn't a nicer word for blackmail,
No,
right?
no, there is.
Extortion.
Extortion.
That's
yes,
not the
yes.
nicer word.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
the,
yeah,
the
that's
more
the-
negative word.
Nah, nah, extort. Yeah, they were extorted by the bigger fish to block it.
Yeah, could be.
At some
We'll
point.
probably never know, right?
Yeah, I guess we'll never know.
Yeah.
Um,
So let's circle back to our surviving startup topic. So
rules, yeah.
you did bring up the topic of availability, and that's huge,
Yeah.
obviously.
Just learn to set limits.
Yeah.
Some personal limits for your own health. Yeah, a company might fail because you don't do something, but in the long run, do you want to start having gray hair on your head like me at 25? Do you want to end up at 23 in the doctor's office because of your health is fucked up because of the company? No. So yeah, company can fail even if it's your own company. It can fail. But you can always find another job. You can always start another company. You can always apologize and delay something and say, I just couldn't make it. I'm sorry. Can we reschedule? But you only get a certain amount of times to reschedule for your health.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the argument that a startup is a baby holds water to a certain extent, but not fully. When your baby cries, yeah, probably sometimes it's just like scared or is hungry, but some you have to run to the baby every
Yeah.
time. For the company, you don't have to. It's not really a living organism
But it
in
does-
that context. Yeah.
I mean, yes, you're right, and I'm
Yeah.
not gonna argue it anymore because I see your point.
Yeah.
It's just that many people who are doing startups or working in startups, their livelihood depends on it for some
I'm
great
aware.
deal.
I'm aware.
There are people, certainly there are people who are well off, already, and they have a secure background and can always fall back on some savings or their parents or whatever. But there are also people whose livelihood depends, or whose ability to pay bills, rent, and food depends on the livelihood of the startup. And at that point, it really isn't
Exactly.
only a job anymore. So yes, you can find a job, but not instantly. if
I
you
know.
need the funds instantly, and
I
that's
know,
that's the
but
rat race you get yourself into
look,
when you commit to a
yeah,
startup.
look, I'm not talking from some like entitled, lazy millennial
Mm.
standpoint where like, no, I'm doing me. No, definitely
Mm.
not. Trust me, I have good work ethic. And I do put the company's interests above mine quite often. Well, to be honest, now less because the company has grown and it's well organized, so I don't have to have such situations. They
Mm.
arise sometimes, but rarely now. They used to when we were smaller. Um, Summa summarum, this is my standpoint for the second rule. I think for your own sake, for your own health, for your own life, you have to learn to at least snooze. Not turn off, but at least snooze. It's necessary.
Yeah, and it took me a long time to learn, because even if you work a corporate job like I do now, um, you still work on solving problems. You still have products, you still have customers, you still have a market, and it has needs. So you have to resolve issues. Basically, that's the way I see my job mainly. And
Yeah.
for me, it wasn't this snoozing or being offline or not being available. For me, what worked for me personally, I cannot sell that as a general recipe, but for me it worked differently. I didn't say I don't want to be accessible, or I don't want to be reached, I don't want to be there, but I said, are there other activities where I don't want to be interrupted? And I tried to identify those, and there cannot be many of them, because eventually you have to be available for, I don't know, 10 or 12 hours a day usually. So for me, it's number one, my family. So my wife, my kids, my
My
parent,
wife.
my wife, my parents, and yeah, brother. And that's basically it, I guess. And fitness. So my look, or I would say my outlook on life basically changed when I took up training. I started first started weightlifting, then powerlifting, and it really changed me, because if you do something like, I don't know, weightlifting or whatever kind of sports you do, you cannot do it with a phone in hand answering texts.
Yeah.
That will not work. So if you say, okay, I'm gonna dedicate 2, 3, how many? Let's say 3 hours a week to staying healthy, to staying fit, to not dying and not decaying as a young person. Um, then I'm not. Then I'm gonna dedicate my time to this, and everybody is entitled to know it. And I put it. I have slots for trainings. For instance, between Monday and Friday, I do Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and I have slots in my calendar that says training. That's it. And people can go to my calendar, and if they write me an email or try to call me, they will know after some time that they will not reach me. I will
Right.
not. I will not even take the phone with me. I'll just leave it somewhere, the laptop
Yeah.
and everything, because that's what I apply myself to. It's not this negative approach like I'm not going to be there for the company. It's the positive approach about I'm going to do this. Then I'm going to be back.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be back better and in
So
better
both
shape.
you and the company can
Yeah.
profit and benefit from that.
And I have the same approach for quality time with my family. So when I come home, I really used to put away my phone. I take it, I check if there is, before I get home, I check if there is something which I should address really like urgently. Most of the time, there's nothing which cannot wait until the next morning, most of the time. And then I say, okay, good, everything's fine. I'll put my phone down, and I will not be available until the next morning, because I have usually between 6 p.m. and 7:30, 1 to 1.5 hours of quality time with my kid.
Right.
And that's fucking important to me, you know?
Obviously. And
And
for the kid as well.
yeah, and I'm not going to be interrupted or elsewhere distracted, but by a beeping phone, by thinking about what am I gonna reply, how am I gonna resolve this, and that's also not a negative approach. I say it's only, I mean, it's way too little time, It's only 1.5 hours, but the time that I have, I'm gonna apply myself to this, and that's for me a positive approach to this availability
Yeah, I understand.
topic, So I'm gonna be there and I'm gonna do that. And when I'm finished or when he's finished and in bed, then sometimes I really do pick up my laptop and I say, okay, good. Look, there was something I saw it at 5:30 or 6.
Mm-hmm.
I still decided to not address it super immediately, like dropping everything else, but I decided to have it wait for 2 hours, 2.5 hours, and then sometimes I'm really gonna sit down in the evening, flip open my laptop, write an email or two, and that's about it. It does work for me, and
Yeah,
that's the way you can do it.
Depends. For example, when I come from work, I just want an hour of quiet.
Mm-hmm.
Quiet. Don't talk to me. Nothing. Like I need it. Okay. So it used to be the case. Before the C word. Now I don't know. I'm kind of lost, to be honest. It's like, am I home or am I in the office? Am I working or? It's just shit. Like when you're working from home, it used to be like super sexy. Like our company offers home office. Dude, how amazing is that? Like so
I
nice.
always hated the concept.
But now, no, I didn't actually. I liked it because in the beginning, I used to be way more productive working from home than from the office. I live alone, so I can handle
It
that.
does depend on
Yeah.
the position. Just
Exactly.
give me a second. I think I got a text from, and at this time of day, only my wife writes me, "Oh, everything's fine. She just found something at Zalando."
Okay.
No, that was me. That was me actually. That was me actually putting family to number one.
Yeah. Well,
I know that at this time, most of my boomer friends are either sleeping.
I think in this time, you only talk to me pretty much because
Yeah.
like our conversations usually start at like between 11 a.m. and like 2 p.m.
Right.
We
yeah.
send each other texts and then we don't answer because whatever reason, I don't know. It's like the active hours, so you
Yeah.
either forget it. And then we continue around like 1 a.m. and then talk till like 2 a.m. Of course, not all the time, not every
Yeah.
day, but most days.
Yeah,
Days we talk quite late. We're like start the conversation quite late.
I am a night owl, and
Yeah, me too.
I did my whole studies basically at night. For me, it worked like a charm. I loved it because I felt like Batman. At days, I had this great life. I loved going to university, and I loved hanging out with people, drinking, talking about stuff, eating. Yeah, I love eating and drinking. So it was awesome. And then I would come home, have a shower or whatever, and sit down at the computer. It would be around 11 p.m. And then, I don't know, hammer it out until 3 or 4 in the
Right.
morning.
Nice.
Sleep until 8, because at that time I didn't really need 7 or 8 hours of sleep. I still can go on 2 hours of sleep for a whole
Yeah.
day. I cannot do it for many days in a row now.
Well, for past few years, I'd say since 15, 16 years of age, I've been averaging like 5 hours.
Oh, that's bad.
Nice.
That's
Well, I have these fucking,
yeah.
these bags aren't product.
But you always had them. That's interesting.
Yeah, but I don't know. That's just how I function. But then during the weekends, I sleep a lot. Like I don't know, I would sleep like 10 hours, maybe 12 hours, or like Friday to Saturday.
So let's
Third rule.
Oh, you have a third rule.
No, I don't. I'm
I still
asking you.
wanted to say something about fitness.
Okay,
Do
go
you
for it.
do you do something?
Uh, Currently, I'm only walking a lot, because I messed up my hamstring, and it's kinda healed, but not really.
Mm.
So I don't wanna like dance with the devil yet. I'm gonna give it another month. But yeah, I used to like.
Another month? What did you do? Did you completely tear it?
No, it was inflamed, but long story. Anyways, it was really inflamed. I couldn't move my leg.
Damn.
And like my tendon went over my bone, so my leg was stuck. And it's bullshit. I actually got it. I messed it up on a stationary bicycle because I got myself a bike,
Uh-huh.
because we can't go outside.
Right.
And it was I don't know. It was too cold. It was too rainy,
I
so I
don't
couldn't
see the
even go.
bike
Okay, it's in the
around anymore.
bedroom. It's in the
Okay,
bedroom
I
now.
thought
Yeah.
you threw it out the window or
No,
something.
I didn't. So I'm still waiting a bit, and as soon as there's anything opens, like any fitness thing, next to my company, we have an amazing gym. So I have a gym
I
buddy.
happen to use that one.
Yeah, me too. It's fucking amazing. It's like
It's great.
that was the most luxurious thing we had at that time in our company because we were
but
dirt poor, but they had some contracts, so we got like this like super luxurious high level fitness center. It's not a gym, it's a fitness
yeah,
center.
it's not. It's
Like,
definitely not a gym. If you want to lift
dude,
weights there or do something serious, you don't.
it's amazing. Anyways, as soon as they are able to open, I'm gonna go there with my gym buddy, and I'm gonna go swimming. Swimming is actually quite nice. I used to do it with Sasha, our work colleague.
Swimming is very healthy.
Like, yeah, we would do it before work. Like, we didn't do it that much, only a few times, but it was still nice. Like, go there before work. And trust me, I'm not a morning person. I do not want to talk to anybody till like 11 a.m. Like in person, obviously.
They still make me do it in all these WebEx and Skype and
Yeah,
whatever
yeah, yeah.
calls. I hate
But
it.
our like daily stand up starts at 11, which is more than fair. I
Yeah,
love
that's,
it.
That's fair, right?
Yeah.
But I think what kept me going with sports is if you find something which you enjoy remotely or nearly as much as the job you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I happened to find that myself with weightlifting, and it never occurred to me to lift weights until I was 30. I never did, I played soccer for 12 years. Then I swam like at a minimum 3 to 4 times a week. So really, really much or really intensely. And I was more of the cardio type of person with, I don't know, I'm not a tall guy, as you might have noticed. And I was also quite slender, So I really hated the guts out of it, but I was fit, It wasn't like I was a wreck or something. But when I discovered weightlifting, it did 2 things to me. It challenged me as much as work because I wasn't used to it. So it was something new and it was interesting, and I wanted to learn how to lift this big weights. And it's also mentally challenging, even if you believe it or not, because you have to be fucking concentrated when you have 140 kilos on your back. Or
Do you even lift, bro?
or I don't know, 90 kilos or 100 kilos above your chest. It's intense. You shouldn't mess it up, and you shouldn't be thinking about something else, and you should be focusing. And that focus is one of my favorite topics, and I still like to talk about it. I think we should dedicate a whole episode, maybe even a whole month to focus. But my point is, I found something that I really loved, and that's why I I stuck to it, and I still do love it. And boy, do I miss the gym. Yeah.
Yeah, I miss the swimming pool, and yeah, it's nice.
But my point is, I would really enjoy getting you fit, and like torturing you fit. That
Yeah,
would
that's
be
not gonna
great.
happen. It's not gonna happen. I love myself way too much to allow such things. But no, this summer I played tennis a bit. I was running. I just said this like Forrest Gump.
Yeah.
From that point on, I was running. Anyways, yeah, I was running. I was playing tennis. I didn't do any swimming, but I was riding my bicycle. So it was nice. I actually lost weight. I was also doing intermittent fasting, and then I went back home, and then Christmas happened, and I gained like 5 kilos. So all the work,
Dude.
bye bye. So yeah, but I will. I'll start working on myself again because I feel like I need it. But yeah, I've been doing some hiking lately, and it's quite beneficial. I would advise it to anybody who's tired of the fucking concrete and the traffic and the metro and everything. Fuck it. Just take a bottle of water, maybe a few sandwiches, maybe I don't know, whatever is your deal. Go hike a bit. Go to the forest. Get a dog.
Yeah.
Whatever. Yeah, just be active. A dog
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
dog is going to
Yeah.
make you go out at least twice a day
Yeah, but
because that dog needs to like
if you
do
didn't
do his deal or her deal,
if
whatever.
you didn't agree to a startup being a baby, a dog is almost like a baby. So come
Yeah,
on, you're
but
not gonna get a dog because you're
no, but
lazy.
what I mean like if you want to have an obligation where you have to go out. If you're lazy on your own and you're like, yeah, I want to go for a walk, but nah, it's kind of cold. It's kind of windy. You just keep finding
Yeah.
excuses.
Mm.
But if you have a dog and he's, like hitting his paws on the door, like, dude, I gotta pee. Can you like open the door? So yeah, it's gonna make you go out for a walk, even if it's raining, even if it's cold, even if it's hot. I don't know, whatever. It's gonna make you go out. So maybe that's a solution. But uh, anyways, I'd like to close down the episode soon. But my summary of this is: stay active, learn to focus. If you want to survive a startup, yeah, you have to be diverse in your set of skills. But during work, learn to focus. Have blocks of work. Don't forget to stand up, walk around a bit, stretch, get the blood moving. Um, learn to go offline and whichever way you want it. And yeah, stay active. Like third, fourth rule, I don't know if you have them, but
I
if you
I do
love
have
startups
one.
like we do, you're probably not gonna survive. You're gonna crash like us. So I don't know. Maybe we've been bullshitting for like more than an hour, but there is a high, high, high chance that if you love it, you will crash at some point.
Yeah.
And look, if you're young, like I was, like you were, and you're like working and working like 80-hour weeks, and you're like, fuck yeah, this is awesome. Like we're making something, and then just like I don't know, you start falling asleep a bit later, a bit later, and a bit later, and then in the morning it's a bit harder and a bit harder, and then just boom, you crash. It happens overnight. You have like a few symptoms, and then just click, and you're done.
I do have one thing,
Sure.
and to close this out because right before I got married, it's soon gonna be 4 years ago. I started working. I left startup country because of all the reasons we mentioned. My body failed on me. My mind didn't serve me as well as
Yeah, let's not
liked to
forget
have to
the
do.
mental health in all this.
Yes, exactly. I wasn't happy enough. It wasn't as much that I was depressed. I fortunately didn't ever have any of these. I don't know. I hear people having dark thoughts about I don't know, suicide or hurting themselves, so
Yeah, no, no,
drinking or
no, not
drugs and
that.
stuff like
No,
that.
I was
I
never
was I
doing
was
that.
fortunate to avoid that, but it it just dawned on me at some point that I'm not happy enough. Like you have this one life, it's quite short. It can be over at any given moment,
Exactly.
and you should be at least trying to each day be as happy as possible. So I decided I had to quit my drug. I had to leave startup country, and I went to work for an insurance company. So that's as corporate as they get.
Yeah.
Um,
And a big insurance company. Like
yeah,
you can name it pretty much.
yeah, but
But yeah, still, let's avoid it.
never mind.
Yeah.
So I really I was working on Schwedenplatz, so that's the place where they were shooting up people. The
a
office
few
I
months
worked,
ago.
the office I worked was like a couple of, not even a couple of meters. It was right beneath the place where that happened, where the attentate on November the 3rd or 2nd.
Yeah.
I think
in
beginning
November.
of November
Yeah.
was it in Vienna happened. It was tragic, and I would have been somewhere in the vicinity of that place, and a work colleague of mine was there. Like he said he was getting on his bike, starting it, driving away, and then he noticed people running around. But it never occurred to him to turn around and look what's happening, because it was like, okay,
Yeah.
it's Schwedenplatz, people are running around.
Yeah. For people that
Maybe-
don't know, it's like a party district.
Maybe
there.
maybe some accidents are happening or
Yeah.
whatever. So he drove away actually when they started, or when
They
he
shot up the
started
place.
shooting, and it was quite fortunate that he wasn't involved. And he gave me one clue that really, because when I switched over to working at a corporate, I took all of my mindset, which I acquired in 8 years of working in startups, and wanted to apply it to a corporate environment.
Not gonna happen, buddy.
Yeah, but I also took my work ethic with me, and I saw people who were clocking it at 9 a.m. and clocking out at 5:30 p.m. That's it. Some of them, most of them were clocking in at 9, having a coffee, a breakfast or something, starting working effectively at 10, shutting down everything at 5 p.m. and then waiting for a couple of minutes before leaving. So some of them, I don't say it was happening every day. I don't say it was all of them. Most of the people were really hardworking and earnest employees. But I was like, wow, this is like a structured workday. You don't have to start at 7 a.m. You don't have to stay until 7 p.m. Nobody is looking at you in a weird way if you leave a couple of minutes earlier. No one is looking at you in a weird way if you don't appear like 1 hour earlier before the workday or something like that. But I still got stressed out because I tried to do as much work as I was used to,
It doesn't
and
happen.
in a corporate environment, and that's some tricky thing here. In a startup, you have always more to do than people to do it, but it doesn't change if you're a corporate. If you're a corporate, you have many people, yes, but they could always do more, like more projects, more customers, more sales, more operations, or more efficient operations.
Yeah, obviously.
There's always more to do than you have workdays and people doing it. And he told me something that effectively changed my life. And Mike, if you're gonna listen to this someday, I fucking love you, brother. It's a shout out to Mike. And he told me, how many tasks can you have at one given moment? How many can you perform? I was dumbfounded because I didn't know what he wanted to have as an answer, because the obvious answer is 1. I was like, do you want to hear 1, or what's the question? And he was like, yes, 1.
Yeah.
Do one thing at a time.
But do it properly.
Yeah, but you cannot do more.
Yeah, multitasking is a bullshit concept.
If you have 234 things on your agenda, you will still only be able to do them one at a time, or to finish them one at a time. That's a law of physics. You cannot do 5 things at once. We have one brain, and we can do one task. So do one thing at a time and don't get stressed out. If you're
Learn to accept.
hmm?
Learn to accept.
Learn to accept the limitations, and it's not your limitations, it's the limitations of everyone. We can all only do one thing at a time. Have you tried to pick up the phone while doing some unrelated other thing, writing, and then maybe someone else is calling you? You will freak out if two or three things are happening at the same time. It just doesn't work. So apply that to work, and try not to get stressed out that your agenda is growing, because that's only a sign of, I think, appreciation, because other people notice that you will do things right, you will do them well, so they either try to ask you for help or get you some work to do because they appreciate your input, and try to approach this from a point of gratitude. Yeah, there will be people who will try to push work on you because they will not want to do it, or because they want to overuse you or what else, but try to approach this from a positive point of view, like, okay, they are calling me, they are writing me, they want me to do it because they value my input, but I can only do one thing at a time.
Exactly. So and that can be an official rule. That
really changed that. It's really, I cannot overestimate it. Yeah. It really changed my life, because at that point I stopped being stressed out at work.
Nice.
It's incredible.
That means a lot, actually.
It means a lot. And
physical, mental health.
And I only needed something like 11 years at work to get to that point. So it's not, it wasn't an easy journey for me.
So learn to accept that you can only do one thing at a time, and focus. Hashtag focus. It's
Hashtag
important.
Focus, stay fit.
Stay fit.
Don't die.
Don't die. Learn to go offline sometimes in your own way. We've had a nice response to our first, like, the pilot episode. We promised we would deliver this one faster, but we had some family obligations, so it's coming a bit later. But we will try to deliver at least 2 episodes per month from now on. We value your feedback, even though it's still like on a low count of views, but still. We're available on iTunes, on Spotify, and YouTube. Gordon and Gecko Podcast. Like, subscribe, share. Tell your friend about us.
Tell us to wear different T-shirts. I don't know, whatever
you want.
Kind of occurs to you.
We know the quote-unquote set is currently shit, but it's just my apartment. But we're working on a few potential locations for the podcast. So
don't put down your apartment. I like your apartment.
No, my apartment is decent. This like white wall is just shit. Like, anyways, we're working on a new location, a better location. We'll test a few of them out and see what fits us the best.
Yeah, and if the C word stops soon, maybe it can be a permanent solution.
Hopefully.
But
if you have any feedback, any suggestions, leave a review as well if you subscribe.
Or if you want us to talk about a certain topic.
Yeah, if you have more topics, if you want us to stop doing something, to start doing something, whatever it is, tell us who you are. Leave a comment. Are you like a senior to us? Are you a junior to us? Are you just interested in startups, in product
babies?
Management?
I don't know.
Whatever you like, tell us who you are. We want to learn about demographics of our podcast audience. So leave a comment, like, whatever, share. We would really appreciate it if you shared. But if you don't, it's still okay. The algorithms will.
No, I think that's the best point to cut it. Stop rambling and
I was rambling a bit. Thank you for watching the Gordon Gecko Podcast, and till the next time.